Aya. Namaste jasate jase Avir Avir Bhava Vajranakra Vajradamstra Karma Shayan Randaya Randaya Tamo Grasa Grasa Om Swaha Abhayam Abhayam Atmani Bhuishta Om Shraum Om Shraum Om Shraum. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Nrsingadev. He is the source of all power, O my Lord, who possesses nails and teeth just like thunderbolts. Kindly vanquish our demon-like desires for fruitive activity in this material world. This is a beautiful prayer for us to start today's remembrance of Lord Nrsingadev. It comes from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 18th chapter, 8th verse, 5.18.8. And it is very beautifully spoken by Prahlada Maharaj himself. Prahlada Maharaj gives such a wonderful point here. Not only does he appear in the 7th chapter, 7th canto of Bhagavatam, but in the 5th canto of Bhagavatam, Prahlada Maharaj also gives wonderful prayers, actually, at the lotus feet of Lord Nrsingadev. So Lord Nrsingadev, Prahlada Maharaj tells us, is the source of all power. In other words, whatever ability and power you and I have, it is actually only coming from Lord Nrsingadev. In Bhagavad Gita, it is so nicely stated also by Krishna, Paurusham Rishu. Paurusham Rishu. Paurusham means ability. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that I am actually ability in man. Very important. And here, Prahlad Maharaj is saying that actually the source of all power is actually Nrsingadev. Then after that, Prahlad Maharaj goes on to describe Nrsingadev. He says, "O Lord, you possess nails and teeth just like thunderbolts." Our nails and teeth are hardly like thunderbolts, isn't it? But those of Nrsingadev are very, very powerful. And then he's making a very important prayer that we should have today for Nrsingadev Chaturdashi. He's saying, kindly vanquish our demon-like desires for fruitive activities in this material world. This is a very important prayer. It is the moment we desire something fruitive in this material world, we become separated from Krishna. This is a very important point we should remember. Because the moment you want to enjoy something without the blessings of Krishna, the moment you want to enjoy something separate from Krishna, that becomes a fruitive activity. Supposing you want to perform an activity even in devotional service, but your mood is that your intention is that you want to perform devotional service to get something material, inherently that is also fruitive. So therefore, Prahlad Maharaj is asking for purity. He's saying, please, give up these desires in my heart. These desires are like demons. Hiranyakashipu, his father, was not the only demon. There are many, many demons after Hiranyakashipu. And the most powerful of all demons is this desire to be separate from Krishna. This desire to enjoy without Krishna. This desire to put ourselves in the center and not Krishna. And so his prayer is our prayer today, because he's praying, please vanquish, in other words, conquer and destroy the demon-like desires for fruitive activity. And then he says he prays so nicely to Nrsingadev, please appear in our hearts and drive away our ignorance. This is why we are praying to Lord Nrsingadev. Not just that today is his appearance. You're all in a community hall. And I'm sure you have a beautiful altar, right, where there's a picture or a deity of Nrsingadev. If I'm not wrong, I can see it there actually. So what happens is deity of Nrsingadev or the picture of Nrsingadev may be there. But most important is we have to frame that picture of Nrsingadev in our hearts. And that is why Prahlad Maharaj is praying to Lord Nrsingadev, please appear in our hearts and drive away our ignorance, so that by your mercy, we may become fearless in the struggle for existence in this material world. In other words, Prahlad Maharaj is saying, Without the mercy of Krishna, one cannot inculcate fearlessness in the heart. All of us at some point or another are constantly battling fear and anxiety. That is the constant companion in this material world, actually. We want Krishna to be our companion, but unfortunately, fear and anxiety, they tend to be the greater companions to us if we don't remember Krishna. At this moment, even as we speak, all of us have some corner of anxiety, some corner of fear that is coming. It could be because of family issues, it could be because of social issues, it could be job prospects, it could be anything, it could be even relationships. But at every point of time, there is always the struggle for existence. And the struggle for existence in this material world is defined by our fear and our anxiety. And so begins the wonderful episode of Narsimha. When the Lord appeared as Narsimha, this incarnation of the Lord is unique because it had never been seen anywhere in the world before. No one had seen this form, and no one could even possibly imagine such a form. Why did Krishna take the form of Narsimha? Why did he come in such a way to just protect his devotee? And why is it that Prahlada Maharaj is accepted as one of the greatest devotees, one of the purest of all devotees that has ever graced the wonderful Srimad Bhagavatam and that has ever been in the history of all living entities? So today, what we will try to do is, let us try to remember the pastime of Narsimha. It is so nicely stated in Srimad Bhagavatam by the gopis, Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jivanam. Therefore, the nectarian pastimes of Krishna are katha. It is not only Krishna's katha in Vrindavan that is sweet. Srila Prabhupada said, every katha concerning Krishna and his incarnations, they are all tava kathamritam. Not only do they give us nectar, but very importantly, the effect of hearing Krishna katha is tapta jivanam. Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam. In fact, the very nectarian pastimes of the Lord, they are the ones that sustain us actually. They give us nourishment and they give us so much of peace and self-satisfaction. That is why you all have gathered so intently and so wonderfully in the hall today. And that is why devotees all around the world are gathered to hear about this Leela. So please remember one thing. The reason why Krishna comes is actually always to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants. This is a very important point. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samstapanataya sambhavami yuge yuge. So Krishna makes it very clear. Whenever there is miscreants and whenever there is a fall in the principles of religion, Krishna will appear. And he will appear Sambhavami Yuge Yuge, Yuga after Yuga. But one thing we should remember is this. Our acharyas tell us that Krishna does not appear in this material world in his beautiful incarnation primarily to kill or destroy the miscreants. No, that is a secondary task of Krishna. The primary reason Shastras tell us why he appears is actually always to protect his pious devotees. This is very important. Shukadev Goswami, in the second canto, fourth chapter, 13th shloka, he says very beautifully, Bhuyo namasad vrijane chide asatam asambhavaya akila sattva murtaye pumsam punaha paramahamsyam ashrame vyavastitanam anumrigyadashushe. So there, Shukadev Goswami pays obeisances to Krishna. And he says, Oh Krishna, you are the liberator of all pious devotees. And what does Krishna liberate us from? He liberates us from all distress. And what does he do? He checks the further atheistic temperaments of those who are the demons. This is very important. So Krishna has two ways to protect us. And this is his mercy. Protection is not just protection of this body, Prabhu said, Matajis. This body needs protection because it is the temple of the Lord. And it is our duty to take care of this body as long as we can. But ultimately, the protection of the body does not give us the great peace and happiness. It is the protection of our consciousness. Because if our consciousness is peaceful and blissful in remembering the Lord, then this body will remain healthy. Because all problems actually start with the mind. When the mind is disturbed, the body breaks. When the mind is healthy, the body survives. So therefore, Shukadev Goswami is saying, Krishna has come into this world to protect and give solace and liberate his devotees from anxiety and difficulty and distresses. And how does he do that? He checks the advancement of the atheists and the demons, like Hiranyakashipu. But there's another important point to this prayer that's important. Not only when we say that Krishna checks the atheistic advancement of the non-devotees, we cannot assume that that atheistic advancement only refers to non-devotees. No, that is not true. Sometimes as we are growing in devotional service, we may not have so much faith in Krishna. And sometimes that faith may be shaken by events around us or even by asat sangha. Sometimes when we go to work, we go to office, there are so many people who don't believe in Krishna. And after a while, that atheistic temperament will affect us also. So actually, when Krishna comes as Narsimha to protect his great devotee Prahlad from Hiranyakashipu, he was also protecting Prahlad from the atheistic advancement of any asat sangha that would come from his demonic schoolmates as well as Hiranyakashipu. And this is our prayer, that we also have Krishna to check any atheistic advancement in our hearts so that we do not forget Krishna. This is very important. Now, in this beautiful pastime of Narsimha's appearance, there are three main players. The first main personality is, of course, Lord Narsimha. But the beauty is Lord Narsimha will appear right at the very end of this Leela. But the most important topic, the most important interaction in this Leela is actually between two great personalities. The first personality, of course, is the most powerful demon, Hiranyakashipu. And Hiranyakashipu, you know, was a very powerful demon, and he was the son of Diti. But the other personality actually that holds the entire pastime together is Prahlada Maharaj. And he is the little son of Hiranyakashipu. Once Bhagavatam tells us, filled with rage and lamentation, because his brother Hiranyaksha had been killed by the Lord in the form of Lord Varaha, Hiranyakashipu, the other brother of Hiranyaksha, he blamed the Supreme Lord, and he started thinking of how he could avenge the death of his brother Hiranyaksha. Hiranyakashipu then turned to his sad family of demons because his mother Diti was crying and all the other family members were all lamenting the loss of his brother. And he told them, I shall sever the head of Lord Vishnu from his body, and I will take the profuse blood that comes from his body, and in that way I will please my brother Hiranyaksha. In this way, I will also become peaceful. Demons think that by propagating violence, that by somehow or another going against Krishna, they think they will become peaceful. But they don't realize that peace is never obtained that way. Peace only comes, Prabhus and Matajis, when you are aligned with Krishna. When you are not aligned with Krishna, no matter what you are trying in this world, there will always be anxiety. But the moment you become aligned to Krishna, the less anxiety there is and the more peace there is. So then the great demon Hiranyakashipu started ordering all his relatives and kinsmen to please terrorize planet Earth and to destroy all the innocent lives, to stop the sacrifices and the yajnas to the devas, so that the devas will eventually die. The demons of Hiranyakashipu, they set fire to the cities, they plundered, they killed, and they tortured. And the world became a very terrible place to live. At that time, Hiranyakashipu went to see his mother. His mother Diti was crying because her son, Hiranyaksha, had been killed. Now, at this point of time, in the seventh canto, Bhagavatam, in the second chapter of the seventh canto, Hiranyakashipu, even though he's a demon, he speaks great philosophy. He tells his mother, my dear mother, in a restaurant or a place where people drink cold water, many travelers are coming together. They come into the restaurant, they sit together, they have a drink. And while they are drinking, they are talking to each other. But after drinking the water, they continue in their respective destinations. Similarly, my dear mother, living entities are joined together in a family, and later, as a result of their actions, they are led apart from their destination. Just imagine, this is the great demon Hiranyakashipu, who did not even want to believe in the Supreme Lord, always envious of the Supreme Lord. And yet, and yet, he was so great in his philosophy. Then he told his mother, "My dear mother Niditi, don't be aggrieved for the loss of the body. After all, who am I and who are the others? What is mine? What is yours? Whatever that you are grieving about is temporary, because the body is temporary and the soul is permanent." And in this way, Hiranyakashipu pacified his mother Diti, and she forgot her grief, and she became very peaceful. However, even though he gave her the philosophy of Bhagavatam and she became peaceful, it is very interesting that Hiranyakashipu, meanwhile, promptly forgot the philosophy that he himself had preached to to his mother, and he proceeded to get all the protection he could get in order to challenge the Lord. Now, someone may say, how can someone who knows so much Bhagavatam and preach Bhagavatam to his mother, and his mother became very peaceful, and he continued being a demon? How can that be? It is very possible, Srila Prabhupada says, because very often we may actually touch Srimad Bhagavatam, but our intent towards coming towards Bhagavatam is what defines us, either as pure devotees or as struggling devotees, or even as Sastris who just want to study Bhagavatam for the sake of scholarly knowledge. In fact, Bhagavatam tells us that Hiranyakashipu was a great politician. A politician will use Shastra when they want to. You have seen, isn't it? Sometimes at the inaugural opening of a temple or something, you will suddenly have a politician coming and he quotes from the Shastra very nicely, but he promptly forgets everything after that because he wanted to win the votes or he wanted to garner good attention. So Bhagavatam is a very powerful scripture, but if we are not respectful to Bhagavatam, if we do not approach Bhagavatam in the proper mood, then we may think we are cheating Bhagavatam. But please remember, it is Bhagavatam who will elude us. This is a very important point. So now Hiranyakashipu had terrorized the planet. In fact, Bhagavatam says that the original terrorists, before all the other terrorists came into this world, it was actually Hiranyakashipu only. He started this reign of terrorism. And now he then decided to go to the valley of Mandara Hill. And there he performed great austerities. His austerity was so powerful, Prabhus and Matajis, that Bhagavatam tells us that this position that he maintained was extremely difficult. But he accepted it as a means to attain perfection. How was he standing? He was actually standing in such a way that his toes were on the ground, like that. And he was keeping his arms upwards and looking towards the sky. He didn't stand there like that for one day. He stood like that for 60,000 years. One day, even 1 minute for us to stand like that is difficult. But 60,000 years he stood that way. Why? He was very determined. He was persevering. But his mood was not to please Krishna, but to obtain boons. When Lord Brahma saw, that he was in such a position, Lord Brahma was surprised. The Devatas were in trouble at that point of time because the great power of his austerities was such that the whole earth was becoming choked. In fact, the smoke from the power of his austerity spread through the entire universe. Rivers and oceans became agitated. The surface of the globe trembled, and the stars and the planets fell. And in that way, the Devatas ran to Brahma, and they said, "Brahmaji, please help us." So Brahma came down to the valley of Mandara Hill, and he saw that he could not find where Hiranyakashipu was. Why? Because in his severe penance, his skin, his fat, his flesh, his blood, his entire body had become devoured by ants. There was a huge ant hill, and it had encompassed Hiranyakashipu completely. So Brahma was astonished. How can someone have so much penance? And then what he did was he took water from his kamandalu and he sprinkled it on Hiranyakashipu. and that revived his life air. And Hiranyakashipu came out extremely strong, almost more powerful than a thunderbolt. And he had a luster of molten gold. Then, when he saw Brahma, he bowed. And Brahma said, I'm very pleased with what you have done. Ask me for a benediction. And now comes the famous part of the pastime. Hiranyakashipu now asks for what we call today an insurance policy. You all may have taken insurance policies, and you all know when you take an insurance policy, you're hoping that the insurance policy will protect you from this and that and this and that. And that is exactly what Hiranyakashipu said. His insurance policy is very complete because he thought about it very carefully. And he said, Brahma, I want to attain immortality. And Brahma said, I'm very sorry. I cannot give you immortality for the simple reason that I myself am not immortal. You know, if I have $5 in my pocket, how can I give you six? I can only give you five. So Brahmaji himself said, I am not immortal. I will die. Therefore, how can I make you immortal? Then Hiranyakashipu was very smart. Plan A failed, but he had plan B. And he said, now, if I cannot live immortally, then let me now get the following boons. Let me not meet with death from any living entity created by you. Since Brahma is the material creator of the universe, Hiranyakashipu thought, I have it all covered. Because everything in this universe is created by him. So not a single living entity created by you can actually kill me. Brahmaji said, done. Second, grant me that I will not die within any residence, outside or within. He thought that would also settle it. I can't die outside a house. I can't die in the house. Where else is there? I can't die during daytime. Neither can I be killed at night. I cannot be killed on the ground, and I cannot be killed in the sky. Grant me that my death will not be brought by any being created by you, nor any weapon, nor any human being, nor any animal. Grant me also, Brahma, that I shall not meet with death from any living entity, even the demigod or a demon, nor by any great snake from any planet. Grant me that I shall have no rivals. Give me sole lordship over all living entities and the presiding deities, and give me all the glories that are obtained from that position. And finally, give me all the mystic powers attained by long austerities and the practice of yoga, for these cannot be lost at any time. And Brahma said, Tatashtu, so be it. Take everything now. And now Hiranyakashipu became a changed personality. Before that, he was humble and respectful to Brahma. And that is the mood of demons. When we want something, we are very nice to someone. The moment we have got that, we become changed. When we want something, we bow before Krishna like anything. We do all the austerities, we do all the vows, we chant, we do everything. But the moment we get something, then Krishna, I am applying for leave from Bhakti, and I will now come and see you the next time I have issues. This is our problem. So how different are we really from the mood of Hiranyakashipu? This is something to think about. And now Hiranyakashipu terrorized the universe. You must remember, the word Hiranya means gold, and Kashipu means soft bed actually. So Hiranyakashipu's lifestyle was very simple. He loved gold, which means he loved wealth, which means any part of the world he would plunder for wealth. He wanted power because with gold comes power. And so he terrorized the demons, he terrorized the devatas, he terrorized everyone. The demons obeyed him, but the devatas ran away from him. At the height of his power, Hiranyakashipu was so strong, Bhagavatam tells us, that if he flicked up his eyebrows, the devatas would faint in fear. If he flicked up the other eyebrow, the devatas' wives who were pregnant, they would suffer from miscarriages. That was the power of the demon Hiranyakashipu. All the devatas were distraught with fear. And they thought, is this the end of all that is good in this world? They ran to see Brahma, and Brahma ran to see the Lord. And as they started praying very hard to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they surrendered at his lotus feet. And now the voice of the Supreme Lord came to them. And he said, O best of the Devatas, do not fear. I wish you all good fortune. Become my devotees by hearing and chanting about me and offering me prayers. Actually, when the Devatas became so scared, they ran to see Krishna. And Krishna assured them, don't worry, I'm there. But he also gave them a very important instruction. He said, become my devotees. Now, the Devatas are already devotees, right? So, why to say become my devotees in Bhagavatam? Specifically, the word that is used in Bhagavatam is become. Why? Because even though we label ourselves as devotees, it's our actions and consciousness that defines us as devotees. And that's why Krishna was reminding the Devatas, you please become my devotees again. In your fear, you have forgotten about hearing about me. In your fear, you've forgotten to chant my names. This is our challenge, actually. When we are besotted by anxiety and fear, very quickly Krishna goes out of the window. We can't chant our rounds nicely. We don't hear very nicely Bhagavatam. We think that we need a perfect setting for us to do our sadhana. But Krishna is reminding us there is no perfect setting to become a devotee. There is no perfect circumstance or time to become a devotee. That time is now. And so Krishna said, please wait patiently. Hiranyakashipu's activities will come to a point where they will have to be stopped by me. When Hiranyakashipu teases his son Prahlad, who is very peaceful, who is very sober, and who has no enemy, I shall kill Hiranyakashipu immediately, despite the benedictions of Brahma. This was the assurance of Krishna. When the Devatas heard the Lord, they returned home, Bhagavatam said, and they were confident that the demon Hiranyakashipu was now practically dead. So you see the faith that the Devatas have in Krishna. The moment Krishna assured them, they immediately went back and they were peaceful. This is the faith we must have also, Prabhus and Matajis. We must always know that Krishna is taking care of us. And in all the difficult times, we should be peaceful enough to always remember that our lifeline of chanting his names, our lifetime of Tava Kathamritam, Tapta Jivanam, of remembering him, must always continue. And now we come to the introduction of the great Prahlada Maharaj in this pastime. Bhagavatam tells us actually that Hiranyakashipu had four very wonderful and well qualified sons, four sons, but Prahlad was the best of them. In Bhagavatam 7, 4, 31, and 32, if you ever have time, you can read them. Prahlad's great qualities are given actually. In fact, it is stated so nicely that Prahlada Maharaj was a perfect devotee. Brahmanya Shila Sampanna, Satya Sando Jitendriya, Atmavad Sarva Bhutanam, Eka Priya Suhrittamaha, Dashavad Santanayangri, Pritriva Deenavatsalaha, Bratavad Sadrishe Snigdoho, Guru Ishvara Bhavanaha, Vidyartha Rupa Janan Madhya, Manastamba Vivarjitaha. These are the great qualities of Prahlada Maharaj. And it is stated so nicely that Prahlada Maharaj was completely cultured. He was a qualified Brahmana. He had very good character. He was determined to understand the absolute truth. He had full control of his senses and the mind. He was very kind to all living entities. He was the best friend to everyone. He acted like a menial servant. To the poor, he was like a father. To his equals, he was attached like a sympathetic brother. And he considered his teachers, spiritual masters, and older god brothers to be as good as the supreme personality of Godhead. He was completely free from pride that may have arisen because he was very educated, he was rich, he was full of wonderful qualities. This is the greatness of Prahlada Maharaj. And so when Prahlada Maharaj came into the world, it became a wonderful place because there was hope for the devotees. One day, right, you must understand this important thing. How did the son of the greatest demon of all times become the greatest devotee of the Lord? How is it that Hiranyakashipu had the greatest demonic qualities and Prahlada Maharaj had the greatest nectarian devotee-like qualities? Why? Because something happened. When Hiranyakashipu was performing austerities in Mandara Hill Valley, in his absence, the Devatas realized that Kayadu, his wife, was expecting a child. And Indra thought, we must kill this child because this child will be the seed of Hiranyakashipu. If Hiranyakashipu is such a great demon, how much worse will the child be? So let us go and kill the child. And so, unknown to Hiranyakashipu, the Devatas one night, they stormed his palace. They actually caught all the demons by surprise, and they overpowered them. And they caught Kayadu. And Indra was prepared to kill the child in Kayadu and kill Kayadu when Narada Muni came and stopped him. And Narada said, "My dear Indra, this is not becoming of you as a Devata. Therefore, please remember, you have no right to kill a woman, much less a woman who's carrying the greatest devotee of all times." And then Indra became surprised. How can a demon like Kayadu actually have a devotee who is known as, who is going to be a devotee? How is that possible? And Narada Muni said, "This is the divine plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Let me take this mother, Kayadu, and bring her to my ashram. And there I will speak Bhagavatam to her and the child. And this child will be the reason, the child will be the cause of Hiranyakashipu's fall." And so Indra paid obeisances to Narada. And he said, "Narada, please take Mother Kayadu." And so Mother Kayadu spent many, many years, right, in the ashram of Narada Muni. Now remember one thing, Prahlad Maharaj was not just conceived and was not just born in 9 months. Because Kayadu feared so much that if he was born, he may be put into danger either by his father or by the Devatas. She refused to give birth to him. And so for a long time, Prahlad Maharaj stayed in the womb of his mother. But while he was in the womb of his mother, Narada Muni did not waste time. Every day he sat down and spoke Bhagavatam to Kayadu. And while Kayadu was hearing Bhagavatam, the beauty was Prahlad, the unborn child. He was also hearing Bhagavatam. And the unborn child heard very, very attentively. In fact, it is stated that when Prahlad was born, he was born in full remembrance of Srimad Bhagavatam by Narada's mercy and by Krishna's mercy. See the power of association of a pure devotee. That's why you all are gathered today in Minneapolis as a Sangha. Because in the association of each other, it is so much easier to remember Krishna. Without the association of each other, it is very easy to forget Krishna actually. So Kayadu gave birth to Prahlad. But the best part is Kayadu forgot the teachings of Narada. But Prahlad Maharaj maintained it. Do you know why? Very important point. The Acharyas tell us that while Kayadu was sitting down and listening to Bhagavatam, instead of hearing attentively to Narada, she was so much in anxiety about her state of welfare, about her child's state of welfare, that ultimately she was not paying attention to Srimad Bhagavatam. This is also sometimes a challenge for us. You may be sitting in the community hall, but your mind could be outside the hall. And I'm on Zoom, which makes it even more difficult actually. You can't see me personally. Your mind, it's very easy for the mind to run everywhere. It's easy for you to think, oh, when is Prabhu going to stop? The mind is like that. So Hiranyakashipu, right, gave birth to, he had a child Prahlad. But Prahlad utilized his time to hear attentively. The more attentive we are to Bhagavatam, more attentive Bhagavatam is to us. The more we want to hear about Krishna, the more Krishna will hear us. Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam. This is the power of hearing about Krishna. So now Prahlad Maharaj was born into this world. And Kayadu came back to the kingdom and presented Prahlad to his father. Hiranyakashipu was very happy. He had become very powerful. He had become invincible. And now he had the greatest son in the world, he thought. He would be my successor. He would be the next great demon. And so Hiranyakashipu sent his son to be taught all the great knowledge that he had learned. He had great hopes that Prahlad would succeed him. And so he was very anxious. He took the sons of Sukracharya, his guru, Shanda and Amarka, and he told these two boys, these two gurus, to teach his little boy all about the most important science of materialism. And so what happened was, one day, Hiranyakashipu, he called for Prahlad, and he said, "Prahlad, sit on my lap." And after putting him on the lap, Hiranyakashipu smelled his head. You know, when we love our children and they are young, We tend to smell their heads with affection. And then he said, my dear son, please let me know what you think is the best subjects that you have studied from your teachers. So Hiranyakashipu wanted to hear that Prahlad has learned subjects about materialism, subjects about economics, subjects about how to make money, subjects about how to retain power. He thought he would hear all this. Instead, Prahlad Maharaj gave him a very interesting answer. He said, my dear father, anybody who has received a temporary body and who is living in household life must become embarrassed by anxiety because you have fallen into the dark well of ignorance. Give up this position, my dear father. Go to Vrindavan and take shelter of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Can you imagine? At that point of time, Hiranyakashipu became very upset. He said, why is he talking about Vrindavan? Why is he talking about leaving this material world? And he got very, very upset with Shanda and Amarka. And he told them, I give you one more chance. Completely protect Prahlad. Someone is coming and poisoning his ears. And make sure that he learns everything which is material. So Shanda and Amarka pulled Prahlad Maharaj and said, Prahlad, how have you learned this deviant knowledge? Bhagavatam knowledge was considered deviant knowledge for them. How have you learned this deviant knowledge? Who has taught you this? And then Prahlad Maharaj told his two teachers, he tells the teachers, my dear, dear teachers, as iron is attracted by a magnetic stone and moves automatically towards the magnet, my consciousness, having been changed by his supreme will, is attracted always to Lord Vishnu. He carries a chakra in his hand, and therefore I have no independence. I'm completely dependent on him. Prahlad became silent, and his teachers became furious. They said, Prahlad, this is nonsense. Now let us teach you the 4 pillars of life: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Let us teach you how to be religious so you get great power. Let us teach you how to be artha. Let us teach you how to become economically very developed and prosperous. Let us teach you how to satisfy your senses, kama, and then you will become liberated. That is moksha. So in that way, they again sat down and they started teaching Prahlad. And Hiranyakashipu a little later said, Prahlad, come and see me. Now tell me what you have learned. Tell me what you have learned. I want to hear what you have learned. And Prahlad Maharaj then decided that he would say something very wonderful. What is the next thing Prahlad Maharaj told Hiranyakashipu? Shravanam kirtanam Vishnuhu, smaranam padasevanam, archanam vandanam dasyam, sakyam atmanivedanam, iti pumsarpita Vishnu bhaktauchen navalakshana, kriyeta bhagavati adha tan manye ditam uttamam. In 7.5, 23 and 24, Prahlad Maharaj gives instructions to his father. And he says, my dear father, you please hear and chant Krishna's holy names, forms, qualities, paraphernalia, and pastimes. Remember him, serve his lotus feet, offer the Lord respectful worship, offer him prayers, become his servant, consider him, O Father, your best friend, surrender everything unto him. If you do these 9 processes, you will become pure in your devotional service, my dear father. Dedicate your life to the service of Krishna, and in this way, you will become really, truly peaceful. Hiranyakashipu became very, very upset. He became very angry. Bhagavatam says his lips were trembling and his heart was beating very fast. He turned to Sukracharya's son, Shanda and Amarka. How dare you rascals give him this knowledge? And now Shanda and Amarka became very scared. They said, actually, my dear, dear Hiranyakashipu, we tried our best to teach him. I don't know where this child is getting. Where has he got this? And so Hiranyakashipu turned now to Prahlad Maharaj and said, you rascal, most fallen of the family, if you have not received this education from your teachers, where have you gotten this education? Prahlad Maharaj remained very calm and very composed. This is the mood of a devotee. Even though so much of agitation is coming, he is calm and he's composed. And you know what he said? He said, My dear father, because of uncontrolled senses, persons like you who are too addicted to materialistic life, you are making progress towards hellish conditions, and you are chewing that which has already been chewed. Huh? This is very important. Punaha, punascha punaha. It is very nicely stated that our material life is like chewing the chewed. In our last life, we had parents, we had children, we had husband, we had wives, we had jobs, we had bank accounts, we had everything. And yet we had no Krishna. And when we died, we didn't take anything with us. Now all of us have come into this life. Again, we have children, we have friends, we have family, we have society, we have acquisitions. We are chewing the same chew that we chew. And yet, at the end of the day, without Krishna, it will all leave us again. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj then concluded by advising his father, my dear father, until one becomes Krishna conscious and until you take the lotus shelter of the feet of the Lord, you cannot be free from material contamination. You must suffer again and again the threefold miseries of life. Prahlad Maharaj, when he spoke this way, the demon Hiranyakashipu became so enraged, he became blinded by anger. He had put Prahlad Maharaj on the lap. Now he threw the little boy off his lap onto the ground. Just imagine, which father will do that to his son? Hiranyakashipu, we thought in the beginning, I thought at least when I read Bhagavatam, I thought that Hiranyakashipu really loved his son. But I realized after reading Bhagavatam, and Prabhupada states it in Bhagavatam, that the nature of demons is, even though you are very dear to them, but if you cannot fulfill a particular desire that they have, it doesn't matter if you are a son, daughter, loved one, they will reject you and they will become upset with you. And this is the nature of Hiranyakashipu. He became indignant and angry. His reddish eyes were like molten copper. And he ordered his servants to take Prahlad Maharaj away and kill him as soon as possible. In 7th canto, 5th chapter, 35 to 38 verse, we understand the demonic mentality of Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu said, this boy Prahlad is the killer of my brother because he has given up his family to engage in the devotional service of our enemy, Lord Vishnu. Therefore, the moment Prahlad Maharaj appeared to be closer to Vishnu, it didn't matter that he was the cherished son of Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu immediately drew a line and said, Prahlad, you are now my enemy. Prahlad Maharaj was 5 years old, but he had given up all relationships which were material. He was definitely very realized. But Hiranyakashipu was so much older to him, but he was so attached to the idea that he was the enemy of Vishnu. And therefore, because his senses were uncontrolled, then he created Prahlad as his enemy. And this is what happens to us, Prabhus and Matajis. In our minds, actually, we create friends, we create enemies. And it is all so that it serves us. If someone is taking care of my needs, he is my friend. If someone is my well-wisher, but he says things that I don't like and not to my taste, he is my enemy. And Prahlad Maharaj taught us that that is not the mood of a devotee. A mood of a devotee is a devotee does not distinguish between friend or enemy. Even though Hiranyakashipu was extremely inimical towards Prahlad, Prahlad was not inimical to his father. But Prahlad Maharaj was destined to be tested. And so now Hiranyakashipu told the demons, take Prahlad away and now kill him. And the terrible looking demons took Prahlad. They put him in the center and they took their tridents and they said, chop him and pierce him. And then they tried doing that, but nothing happened to Prahlad. They then took Prahlad and they put him under the feet of wild elephants. But Prahlad Maharaj simply prayed to the Lord and he remained peaceful and the elephants did not trample him. They threw Prahlad Maharaj amongst huge, fearful snakes, but the snake bites did not hurt Prahlad. Instead, they became nectar. They hurled Prahlad from the top of a mountain, but at the bottom, Krishna was there to receive him. They employed destructive spells and conjured illusory tricks against little Prahlad, but he remained fixed with Krishna. They starved the little boy of all food, They exposed him to severe cold, wind, fire, and water. But Krishna nourished him from within. They threw heavy stones and rocks to crush him, but Krishna protected him. They even administered poison to him. But instead of poison, Krishna turned poison into nectar, and Prahlad Maharaj drank it and was fine. The Supreme Lord, in each and every instant, fully protected Prahlad. And you know what was Prahlad Maharaj's mood? He was calm. He was unagitated because he was completely confident and fixed at the lotus feet of Krishna. Now Hiranyakashipu became completely frustrated. He was in great anxiety and he thought, I have used so many ways to try and kill him. But despite all my attempts, he cannot be killed. In fact, it appears like he is so fearless. I'm trying to kill him. He's like a dog's curved tail. You know, the curved tail of a dog. You can try to make it straight, but it always curves. So Hiranyakashipu said, this Prahlad Maharaj is like a curved tail. Every time I try to make him forget his relationship with the Lord, he comes back to remembering him. And now, for the first time in this pastime, Hiranyakashipu becomes morose. He thinks, I have never seen a boy who has never feared any kind of punishment. He appears to be immortal. Because of my enmity towards him, I am afraid that I shall die, or maybe this will not take place. Therefore, the king of the demons became morose. He became bereft of bodily luster, and he remained silent. Shanda and Amarka said, give us one more chance, and we will do what we can. And so one day in the morning, Shanda and Amarka taught Prahlad Maharaj. They taught him Dharma, Artha. They taught him Kama and Moksha. And after that, they were convinced now that Prahlad Maharaj has finally turned the table. And so they left him with all the other classmates. The moment they left him with the classmates, Prahlad Maharaj then said to the classmates, my dear boys, why are you wasting your time wanting to play? Playing is for everyone, and we have all done this year life after life. Let us use this time to remember the Lord. And all the little boys, they were very simple in their hearts, and they loved Prahlad. So they said, Prahlad, teach us, what is this that you have learned? And Prahlad Maharaj said, I have learned that happiness obtained in this material world is temporary. It can be obtained without endeavor, just like distress and happiness can be obtained without endeavor. They will come naturally. In this tender age of childhood, we must remember that we have a maximum of 100 years, my friends. And if you don't control your senses, half of that 100 years is loss. You sleep for 12 hours being covered by ignorance. Then you only have a lifetime of 50 years. When you are very young, you're bewildered. You pass 10 years being bewildered. In boyhood, you are sporting and enjoying and playing. Another 10 years have passed. In this way, 20 years are gone. When you're old, you become invalid. You can't do anything. And another 20 years have passed. Therefore, in this way, an entire lifetime is passed. Why do you want to waste your time? Rather, put your heart and soul at the lotus feet of the Lord, because He is your true well-wisher. And those who chant His holy names, they will always be very peaceful. And therefore, the boys heard Prahlad Maharaj. And because their hearts were very simple, they also started chanting the names of the Lord. And Prahlad Maharaj started having kirtan with them. They were dancing, they were singing until Shanda and Amarka came in. And they saw, oh Krishna. No, they didn't say, oh Krishna. They said, oh Hiranyakashipu, what has happened now? Instead of Prahlad being the only problem, our entire school has become a problem. And so they went finally to Hiranyakashipu. And now we come to the final part of the pastime. Because now they came to Hiranyakashipu and said, my dear Hiranyakashipu, day after day we are observing. These classmates of Prahlad have also rejected the materialistic instructions. They are advancing in devotional service because of Prahlad. We have realized now that nobody has influenced Prahlad Maharaj. His devotional service is self-sustaining. It is within his heart. Your son, we cannot change. We leave him to you now, Hiranyakashipu. Now Hiranyakashipu became very, very angry. Like a snake that has been trampled, he summoned his son. And his son came and stood before him with folded hands, mild, gentle, and peaceful. Bhagavatam uses three words to describe Prahlad Maharaj at the end of this pastime. He was peaceful, he was mild, and he was gentle. These are the three qualities that make a devotee. We must ask ourselves, are we peaceful? Are we mild in our dealings? And are we gentle? His senses were completely under control, and he stood before his father with folded hands. With staring crooked eyes, Hiranyakashipu rebuked him. You most impudent, most unintelligent disruptor of my family, lowest of mankind, you have violated my power to rule you. You are an obstinate fool. Today I will send you to the place of Yamaraj. Tell me, O Prahlad, rascal, by whose power have you become so impudent and fearless and you dare to overstep me? And Prahlad Maharaj said something so beautiful. My dear king, the source of my strength is the source of your strength. The original source of all kinds of strength is the strength of the Lord. He is the only strength of mine, and He is the only strength of yours. Without Him, my dear father, no one can get any strength. Whether something is moving or not moving, superior or inferior, everyone, even Lord Brahma, is controlled by the strength of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. My dear father, please don't discriminate between friends and enemies. Make your mind equipoised towards everyone. Except for the uncontrolled and misguided mind, my father, there is no other enemy in the world. If you forget everything I've told you today, please remember this point. Prahlad Maharaj says in 7, 8, 9 of Srimad Bhagavatam that except for the uncontrolled and misguided mind, there is no other enemy in this world. What Prahlad Maharaj was trying to tell Hiranyakashipu was that, my dear father, Vishnu is not your enemy. You are your enemy. Your own mind is your enemy. Sometimes we find fault with so many people. We say, because of you, I've become disturbed. But the real enemy is the uncontrolled and disturbed mind. When Hiranyakashipu heard this nectarian instruction from Prahlad, because his heart was filled with envy, he couldn't accept it. He said, you speak of a great being, Prahlad. Is this great being everywhere? Is he in this pillar? Is he in that pillar? Is he before me even in this pillar? And Prahlad Maharaj then says, my Lord, my dear father, the Lord is everywhere. He is in every pillar. And so when Hiranyakashipu heard that reply from Prahlad, obsessed with anger, he took up his sword. He got up from his royal throne, and with great anger, he struck his fist against the column of a pillar. Then from within the pillar, Bhagavatam says, there came a fearsome sound which rattled throughout the universe. It appeared to crack the very covering of the universe, and it reached even the abode of Lord Brahma. To prove the truth of the devotee's statement, the Supreme Lord is present everywhere. Krishna as Narsimha appeared from a pillar, and he exhibited a form that no one had seen before. He was neither human nor animal. He was neither fully man nor was he fully lion. He was half man and he was half lion. Hiranyakashipu wondered in amazement, who is this creature? Half man, half lion. Has Vishnu come in this form to kill me? Hiranyakashipu thought that Vishnu had come in this form because he was afraid of him. So he got up and he tried to fight with Lord Narsimha. He made a loud, shrill sound of laughter. But the Lord's sound of roar was so powerful that it struck fear in the heart of Narsimha. The Lord let out a shrill sound of laughter, and he captured Hiranyakashipu just like you and I will capture a little insect, Tavakara kamala varenaka adbhuta shringam dalita Hiranyakashipu tanu bringam. Bringam means wasp. It's like an insect. The Lord held Hiranyakashipu like you and I will hold a little insect. Hiranyakashipu closed his eyes with fear when he heard the laughter and the roar of Lord Narsimha. Lord Nrsimhadev toyed with Hiranyakashipu and let him run away for a while, thinking that he will win. And then he caught him again. And then, with one time, as the hour of twilight was approaching, the Supreme Lord Hiranyakashipu, the Supreme Lord Nrsimhadev looked at Hiranyakashipu, and he decided now that enough of playing with him. As the hour of twilight approached, the Lord caught Hiranyakashipu and he put him on his lap. And he sat in the doorway between outside the palace and inside the palace. And he used his transcendental nails and very easily tore the demon Hiranyakashipu to pieces with the nails of his hands. And with his powerful hands, he destroyed the great Hiranyakashipu. In doing so, the Supreme Lord completely kept the words of Lord Brahma perfect. He came as half man, half lion. He was neither man, neither was he animal. He did not use any weapons because nails are not considered weapons. He put Hiranyakashipu not in air, not on earth, but on his lap. And he sat in between at the door seal, which is neither inside nor outside. And he killed him at dusk, which is neither twilight, and rather he killed him at the hour of twilight, dusk, which is neither night nor is it in the daytime. So you see, Krishna is so perfect that if he wants to kill the demonic tendencies in us, he can do it. Because that is how he killed Hiranyakashipu. After the Lord killed Hiranyakashipu, the Lord still exhibited transcendental anger. Brahma did not dare to approach him. The Devatas did not dare to approach him. Brahma told Lakshmi Devi, he is your husband, you go and approach him. Lakshmi Devi said, no, I've never seen him like this. I'm not going to approach him. Normally, men are a bit scared to approach wives when they're angry. But this time, Lakshmi Devi was scared to approach the husband who was very angry. And at that point of time, Brahma turned to Prahlad and said, Prahlad, you go. And Prahlad Maharaj, without hesitation, went before Lord Nrsimhadev, bowed, took a nice garland, came before him, and garlanded the Lord. The moment Nrsimhadev felt the touch of Prahlad Maharaj, he immediately became peaceful. And he blessed Prahlad. And he said, Prahlad, I will give you the kingdom and everything. Ask me for a benediction. And the only thing Prahlad Maharaj asked Nrsimhadev was, please save my father. I know he was demonic. I know he had committed great sins to you, but please liberate him. This was the mood of Prahlad Maharaj. That is why the greatness of devotees is their compassion. In their compassion lies the protection of the Lord. Please remember that. We pray to Nrsimhadev so much for him to protect us, but we don't realize that his protection is invoked by our compassion. When we are compassionate to all creatures, when we try our best to give Krishna to everyone, that compassionate nature of ours actually attracts the protection of Lord Nrsimhadev. So if we really want the Lord's protection, we must remember that the Lord protected Prahlad Maharaj, not because of any other reason, but because of Prahlad Maharaj's mood of loving devotional service and his great love and compassion for the living entities. We are all praying to Lord for protection. And today we all pray to him for spiritual protection. The body will go. Hiranyakashipu's body was so strong, but in a little moment of time it became nothing. Prahlad Maharaj was a very small boy. In body he was nothing compared to Hiranyakashipu. And yet, because his consciousness was completely devoted not to fruitive activities, but to always remember the Supreme Lord, glorify him and serve the devotees, the Lord extended his fullest protection to him. So today is Lord Nrsimhadev's appearance, and we always pray for his protection. But the deeper protection that we pray for is the protection of our consciousness. Let us all pray to Lord Nrsimhadev that somehow or another, O Supreme Lord, may you always protect our consciousness. And like we said in the beginning of our prayer, may we always be protected from the demon-like desires of lording over material nature and thinking ourselves to be independent from Krishna. Always remember, Hiranyakashipu thought Nrsimhadev was his enemy, but he was wrong. It was his uncontrolled mind. It was his misguided mind that was his enemy. We may think someone is our enemy, but it is our mind which is the greatest enemy. Pray to Lord Nrsimhadev today that he will give us protection so that we will develop great devotional service to ultimately please him. Jai Narasimha Dev ki, Jai Prahlada Maharaj ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Thank you, Prabhus. Thank you, Matajis, for giving me an opportunity to remember this wonderful pastime.
Thank you, Devakinandan Prabhu. Thank you very much for giving such a wonderful lecture. You can hear me, right?
I can hear you. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
On behalf of all the devotees here, we'd like to really thank such a nice story. We almost know that it was graphically being portrayed and happening, all the events was happening before us, and the great lessons of controlling mind and other things which we have even already said. So, with like on behalf of everyone, we'd like to thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I must thank you. I'm seeing all of you now. I've pinned you so I can see you a bit better. It's so nice to see everybody. I send my pranams to all of you. I'm planning to come to Minneapolis towards the end of the year, hopefully the earlier part of the end of the year. But let me work out my timings, and then I hope to take all your association at some point of time, Krishna willing. Mhm. And I want to thank the devotees who came online also. And thank you, Manor Prabhu, for engaging me. Manor Prabhu sent me a message and requested me to join this program. And I thought this is really my Guru Maharaj's way of keeping me engaged. And, he found Manor Prabhu as an instrument, Sarveshwar Prabhu, thank you so much for being on the call. It's so nice to see you also. And I'm very happy, Prabhu. Thank you. And
Prabhuji,
and my obeisances. Yes, Sarveshwar Prabhu.
you after a long time. It was so nice. Actually, Manohar Prabhu told me that you are coming today on Zoom. Then I said, okay, I will take this opportunity.
No, you're very kind, Thank you, dear Minneapolis devotees, and thank you to all the devotees online. Yadushesh Prabhu, Hare Krishna, and Hare Krishna to everybody else. Uday Prabhu, I can see a few others. Yes.
Just a time for one question.
Yeah, I'm happy. If you have a question and it's not taking too much time, I'm happy to take a question.
The question is from the congregation from yesterday. Just a question regarding Dhruv Maharaj prayers and the Hiranyakashipu prayers. How do we distinguish? Because both of them had the ulterior motive to gain some material benefits. Dhruv Maharaj got his benedictions in 6 months, and Hiranyakashipu took 60,000 years. So how do we distinguish between the two, and what we can learn from both of them?
I think the message is very clear. Hiranyakashipu took 60,000 years to get a benediction, but he didn't get it from Krishna. He got it from Brahma. He was praying to the wrong personality. He should have turned to Krishna, but he did not, because he was very envious of Krishna. When we know someone is much greater than us, more powerful than us, this is the source of our strength, we should get rid of our envy and we should wholeheartedly accept them. Dhruva Maharaj's greatest point as a devotee was that he heard the instructions of his mother. That was the first starting point of his devotional service. Suniti, his mother, gave him best advice. You please go and worship Krishna. And he worshipped Krishna. Then when he went to the forest, Narada came. And Narada is a great devotee. And Narada tested his resolve. And when he became pleased with him, he gave him the benediction to chant Krishna's names. Hiranyakashipu would never chant Krishna's names. Hiranyakashipu's mood in trying to get austerities and doing austerities was simply to destroy Vishnu. Dhruva Maharaj may have wanted to have a great kingdom, but Prabhupada writes in the purport, he was a 5-year-old boy. He was a bit childish in his mentality. But Krishna is so kind that Krishna overlooked the exuberance of a little boy and gave him the beauty of devotional service. Why? Because there was no envy in the heart of Dhruva. Dhruva Maharaj was very straightforward. Dhruva Maharaj was very innocent in his heart. But Hiranyakashipu was the opposite of all that. So even if you have great austerities and great propensity for austerity, if you're not prepared to bow down before Krishna, if you're not prepared to serve the devotees of Krishna, then whatever great austerities and whatever great tejas you may have, eventually it must vanish. It will have to go eventually. Nothing stays with us actually if it is not used in Krishna's favor. So this is very important. Prabhus and Matajis, there's a very important shloka in 10.4.46. When you have time, you should look at it. 10.4.46. Ayuhu shriyam yasho dharmam lokan ashisha evacha hanti shreyamsi sarvani pumso mahat atikramaha. It is nicely stated in the Bhagavatam pages. When one mistreats great souls, his lifespan, his opulence, his reputation, his religion, his possessions, and his good fortunes are all destroyed. Very powerful statement. Very powerful statement. Therefore, we should be very careful. Never mistreat the great souls. Who are the great souls? Anyone who's trying to serve Krishna is a great soul. Therefore, in our heart, we should never feel enmity, discrimination. So Yadushresh Prabhu, Dhruva Maharaj was on a different platform because he had no envy to Krishna. He followed the instructions of all the great devotees like his mother and Narada, and therefore he was already taking up nice devotional service. There was nothing devotional about Hiranyakashipu. Is that helpful, Prabhu?
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manoj Prabhu. Thank you so much. Please take care. Are you all going to have Kirtan now? I see the harmonium there.
Yes, kids are going to perform, and then we'll have Abhishek and Kirtan.
Very nice. I wish I was there to do some Kirtan with all of you. But let's see, Krishna willing someday. Mhm.
We'd like to show you the author.
Yes, please. Can I take darshan?
Today is Maharaj Sannyas Day also, so we are having
Yes, Prabhu. Today's really Maharaj's Sannyas Day. So let me see, where is the altar? Oh, Jai Narsimha Bhagavan ki. Jai, so beautiful, Prabhu. Such a beautiful picture of the deity. Jai, Shri Gaurnitai, Shri Laddu Gopal Ji ki. All the way from Minneapolis. Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj ki. Jai. To those who may or may not know, today is also the anniversary of our Guru Maharaj taking sannyas. So it's a very important day for us. If he didn't take sannyas, maybe we wouldn't be here as his disciples. So it is our great fortune that he took sannyas and he gave us his protection. Mhm.
Not
Thank
only
you.
as Prabhu, as a
Yes.
human, not
Oh,
only
yes.
disciple, as a human being, we would have not been here.
Absolutely,
At
Prabhu.
least I
Absolutely.
would have not been here. That much.
No. I would be with you also. I would be with you also. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhus, Matajis. I take leave now.
Hare
Mano
Krishna.
Prabhu.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
Jai
Thank you.
Grindaraj. Thank you.
Patitanam
Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna.